Mangwanani Mwalelepo Fukenjani, class Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Aina Raizakoyo and Ashwin Berry, ready to engage with the content. How are you, Aina?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Awesome. Let's get into the stories making headlines this morning. Niger junta appoints new prime minister. Elderly Rwandan genocide suspect should not face trial. This is according to UN judges and Kenyan victims of 1998 U.S. Embassy bombing demand compensation. You can follow all our programs on our website called oneup2.com, as well as on DSTV 285 and GoTV 25 in Namibia. Later on the show, we have Ari Houhad, who is going to be bringing us the news making waves in South Africa. After the break, we return with news from Niger.
Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
In our top stories this morning, Niger junta appoints new prime minister. Niger junta leader Gen Abdurrahmane Chiani has named a former finance minister as the new prime minister following the 26th of July coup. Ali Mahamana Lamine Zine replaces Mohamedou Ouhamadou, who was in Europe during the coup. Master Zine, reported to be in his 50s, served as a cabinet director and finance minister from 2001 until the overthrow of the later former prime minister by the army in 2010. His appointment was announced in a statement read on state-owned television channel Tele Sahel on Monday night by a junta spokesperson.
In our next story, UN appeal judges have ordered that Rwandan genocide suspect Felicien Kabuga be urgently considered for release and that the war crimes trial against him be indefinitely suspended. In June, judges at the UN War Crimes Court ruled Mr. Kabuga was unfit to stand trial due to his dementia, but suggested alternative procedures should take place. Now, appeal judges have rejected this suggestion. According to the judges, the UN War Crimes Tribunal made an error of law in June by deciding that Mr. Kabuga should be tried via an alternative simplified procedure despite his state of health. And now a lower trial chamber has been ordered to work on releasing him. The businessman and radio station owner, now in his late 80s, was one of the last suspects sought by the tribunal prosecuting crimes committed during the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. He is accused of spreading hatred through his radio station and motivating the killers who killed more than 80,000 people in just 100 days.
Kenyan victims of 1998 U.S. Embassy bombing demand compensation. Kenyan victims of the 1998 U.S. Embassy bombing in Nairobi on Monday renewed calls for compensation from Washington as the East African nation marked 25 years since its deadliest terror attack. A powerful blast hit the U.S. Embassy in downtown Nairobi on the 7th of August 1998, killing 213 people and injuring over 5,000, most of them pedestrian or office workers in the adjacent buildings. Minutes later, another explosion rocked the U.S. mission in Dar es Salaam in neighboring Tanzania. The twin bombings claimed by Al-Qaeda killed a total of 224 people and went on to shape how a generation thinks about personal security.
Now, South Africa Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Naledi Pandor, reported on Monday that leaders of 23 countries from around the world officially expressed their desire to join BRICS. We have received official expressions of interest from the leaders of 23 countries to join BRICS and further informal consultations on membership possibilities, Pandor said during a press conference broadcast via YouTube. The minister said the 23 countries keen to join the group are Algeria, Argentina, Bangladesh, Bahrain, Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Egypt, Ethiopia, Honduras, Indonesia, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Morocco, Nigeria, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, Senegal, Thailand, United Arab Emirates, Venezuela, and Vietnam. According to the official, the high level of interest confirms the status of BRICS as an advanced organization that defends the interests of the countries of the Global South.
In our next story, Mozambique state paid 10.3 million to ghost the employees in the last 7 years. Officials said the Mozambican state has lost 725 million metakai in the last 7 years due to the payment of salaries to more than 3,200 ghost employees, an official source announced. We have been verifying between the first and second year numbers of employees who have not gone to take the proof of life in various sectors. Master Biza Novella, Director of Planning and Cooperation at the Ministry of State Administration and Civil Service, quoted by Radio Mozambique on Monday. According to the official, during the inspection, 3,240 ghost employees were discovered, most of whom were detected in the education, health and defense and security sectors. According to Biza Novella, when questioned about workers who did not take the life test, the sectors themselves sometimes could not even say who the employees were, and meanwhile every month resources were drained for payment of salaries. Since 2015, the Mozambican government has been electronically verifying the proof of life of all state employees as a measure to end the payment of salaries to non-working workers.
All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, we'll be talking to Ari about the taxi strike in South Africa, the latest from Shell, the BRICS summit, which will be this month, and Siya Kolisi is still the captain as the Springboks are announced for the squad heading to France. Stay with Africa. Good morning.
Our correspondent Ari Khoukhad in Cape Town, South Africa, is here to bring us the stories making headlines. Good morning, Ari. How are you?
Yes, very good morning, Aina and Ashwin. Yes, nice to talk to you. Lovely morning here in Cape Town.
All right. Before we start getting into your stories, let me say a very warm Happy Women's Day to all the women in South Africa. I understand there is a public holiday, and I wish everybody good rest, good food, and just good enjoyment on this public holiday. Now let's get into the issues that are affecting South Africa right now. The taxi strike continues in Cape Town, with the city reeling under violence and many schools being closed. Tell us about this.
Yes, it's been going on quite a few days. It's concerning. Reports coming in last night that I also saw on social media is some looting in some areas that's close to us as well, here in Kraaifontein or in the northern suburbs, and all over the Cape. Apologies. So it is concerned. Just the history of that, going back quickly, it's the Santaco, that's the taxi association, striking because of taxis being impounded by the Cape Town government, local government. that's the Minister of Transport, that is Cindy Shikunga. So on Women's Day, she's working hard today, and she needs to help and fix this today. But there's also a standoff between the national government and the local government. So that's also not nice. It's becoming a little bit of a political play ball. And the reason is that it's the bylaws and the laws that's used. So the Cape Town City say that they're using the national laws to impound. And Minister Cindy Shikunga said that they created their own bylaws. And the city say that's not true. They're using national laws that's coming from 2009. So that's a standoff that needs to be fixed today in the boardroom first. But the reality on the street is masses of people not allowed, not being able to go to work, and the children are going to school. 92 schools closed. There's people that lost their lives. So they're not sure if all is linked to the taxi strikes. Definitely quite a few deaths that was because of the strike. And so that is a concern for Cape Town at the moment. Luckily, maybe it is a public holiday today, so the whole city is on a go slow. But I could see yesterday in the traffic as well, the massive impact. There's in South Africa 220,000 taxis, so it's a big industry, and it's not all of them obviously registered in the right way, and they impound it. And in Cape Town, the estimate is that there's about 27,000 taxis. 6,000 has been impounded, and the minister came with a message yesterday and said they need to be released. So there's a standoff between the local government and the national government. Also, we must keep in mind it's a Democratic Alliance city, Cape Town. The ANC not happy with what's happening in Cape Town always, and there's election coming up. So we're just concerned it's becoming a little bit of a political play ball as well.
Oh, certainly it kind of feels that way. I mean, one would assume that there would at least be a grace period, knowing that taxis in South Africa have never not responded violently to moves like this, at least in the last 5 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. The purpose, Shell, is to help tend to load shedding challenges. So from fuel to energy, tell us more.
Yes, it's an acquisition for Shell that they bought last year. That is Daystar. They're mostly operated in the West Africa. They have big business. They're putting up solar power. Obviously, South Africa, with the challenges of load shedding, needs that assistance. And so it is Daystar that set up an office in Johannesburg. They have a plan in Africa to have 400 megawatt of power created via solar by 2025. About 120 megawatt in South Africa. So it's mostly commercial and industrial. 75% of their business, they help the commercial and the industrial. But also yesterday, announcement from government that said that there's going to be help from government. That is for the man on the street, the household, to get a loan scheme that was put up. And that's to do with, there's a 25% tax rebate that you can get up to 50,000 maximum. And also the banks will take, or they will help the banks not to lose more than 20% of the loans if they default. So there's initiative from government. So we need more solar. We have the sun, but we need solar assistance for energy in South Africa.
All right, now moving over to your next story, we understand that one of the discussion topics will be the 5 ways, one of the topics that will be discussed at the BRICS conference that will take place in Johannesburg will be the ways on how the 5 member states can topple the United States dollar as a dominant economic currency. Please tell us more about this.
Yes, it's a mouthful and it's a big discussion point on the agenda. It's basically got to do that when Brazil do business with India, they say, why do they need to do it in dollar? Isn't there another currency they can do it in? We know that the dollar has been the main combined trade, the currency, the trade currency that's known in the world. But the 5 countries combined, that is Brazil and India and China, South Africa and Russia, they have a trade surplus of $287 billion in 2022. So it's a strong economy trade between them. So they're putting it on the table to have a kind of a currency. They call it a BRIC at the moment, BRIC, a BRIC currency. That's going to be on the table. So maybe that will happen. But obviously Brazil's president was very vocal. He's not happy. He said we need to ditch the US currency. And then obviously we know where Russia stands with that. And that's Minister Sergei Lavrov. That's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He will attend BRICS from the 22nd to the 24th of August because President Vladimir Putin not allowed to be in South Africa. He's going to be on the conference virtual. So spare a thought for the people handling the Wi-Fi, doing the Wi-Fi at the Stanton Convention Center on the 22nd of August. They need to have good Wi-Fi because Vladimir Putin is on virtual.
He's not the kind of guy that tolerates incompetence, whether it comes from your own actions or not. And I do understand he had a conversation with President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday, actually, ahead of the BRICS summit. Now, in the last of your stories, my favorite rugby team, whenever Valvitas aren't playing, the Springboks announced their squad. Siya Kolisi is still captain. Makazole Mampimpi, who had a wonderful World Cup last time, is back in the squad. Give us more on that update.
Yes, it's exciting. That's the coach, Jacques Nidabo, with the inspired captain. He's our leader. He's our man, Siya Kolisi. He's back. He was injured, and he's good to see him back. He will play a few warm-up games. Not good news for some other players, unfortunately. It's actually a big setback for South Africa. Andre Pollard, influential fly-off, and also Lukhanyo Am. That is Andre Pollard. They're not playing. They're not in the squad because they're injured. They might squeeze into the squad still if there's injuries. There's 2 warm-up games, and the tournament is tough. So maybe we'll see them later in the tournament, but there's still injury concerns. But the reality is that's Paris. That's where they're going to play for that cup, defending that cup. First game will be Sunday, 10 September against Scotland. That's 9 p.m. South Africa's first game. They also play Ireland, Tonga, and Romania. So excitement. The men's rugby team announced just on Women's Day. So it's Women's Day today here. Shania Twain sings, "Man, I feel like a woman." I do feel a little bit like a woman today, but I still identify as male, Ashwin, so don't worry about
That's
that.
fair.
But we're celebrating Women's Day.
Yes, I mean, I have to say, if the Springboks can carry the spiritual strength of Winnie Madikizela Mandela, they may very well have another World Cup trophy. Thank you very much, Ari, for bringing us the news stories.
Yes, big pleasure. Great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Great day indeed. Let's head to the weather predictions.
Here are the economic indicators, not economic indicators, economic news. Thereafter, we'll look at economic indicators. India's rice export ban sparks concern that sugar may be next. After India banned some rice exports to control domestic prices, traders are worried another food staple could be vulnerable: sugar. The world has become increasingly dependent on sugar exports from the South Asian nation as global supplies tighten. Uneven rainfall across India's agricultural belt has stoked concern that sugar production will fall short, potentially dropping for the second straight year in the season starting October. This may limit the country's ability to export.
And the African Union has initiated discussions about a proposed African credit rating agency to be more accurate, balanced, and comprehensive opinions on more comprehensive opinions on African credit instruments. The global credit rating landscape is largely dominated by 3 major agencies: Moody's, Fitch, and S&P Global. These entities wield considerable influence over international financing decisions and the flow of capital. However, recent events have underscored the fallibility of these agencies, ratings casting doubt on their accuracy and objectivity. That brings us to the end of our economic news stories, and much to Aina's delight, here are the indicators.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with football news. Exciting English Premier League season that starts this coming weekend, and there's still a few transfers that's been negotiated. Not all the teams have decided on the final squads for the season, and it is one signing that is confirmed, and that is from Newcastle United. It is Newcastle that confirmed the signing of the defender from Southampton. His name is Valentino Livramento, and he will join for Newcastle for the first game this coming weekend. It is Newcastle that will be at home this coming Saturday in their first game of the new season against Aston Villa. Also news from Tottenham Hotspur is that there's no clarity yet on Harry Kane. He's the captain of England, also Harry Kane. He's a striker for Tottenham Hotspur. There's been negotiations with Bayern Munich for Bayern Munich to buy Tottenham Hotspur striker Harry Kane, but 3 bids have been rejected by Tottenham Hotspur, the latest one being 86 million euros. Also, Harry Kane did play in a few of the warm-up games, but also in the week, Tottenham Hotspur played Barcelona in their last warm-up game, and Harry Kane didn't travel to Barcelona, but many of the top players didn't travel, so it seems like it's a rotation by Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur start their season this coming Sunday when they play against Brentford, and then on the 19th of August, a very tough game when they play against Manchester United. Moving on to golf news, and it's news from the PGA, the Professional Golf Association in America, and they have announced a massive increase in prize money for the FedEx Finals that is in the 2024 season. Already the winner will receive this year $18 million US dollars as the winner of the FedEx Cup, and in the 2024 season it will be $25 million. The next tournament in the FedEx Cup, or the first of the playoffs where 70 players qualified, will be this coming Thursday. It will start. It's the St. Jude Classic, and that will be from Thursday to Sunday. The top 50 players then on the FedEx ranking will go to the BMW Championship the next week, and then the third week it will be only 30 players that will go to Atlanta. That will be at the East Lake Golf Club, and those 30 players will try and win the $18 million winner's prize as the FedEx champion for 2023. Still, the PGA and the DP World Tour, that is a European tour, they're negotiating with the Saudi fund, that's the Saudi Arabian Investment Fund, for a merger of the 3 entities, but that's still in negotiations and it's not been confirmed yet. Continuing international sports news with tennis news, it is the Canadian Open that starts. It is the National Bank Canadian Open. It's a thousands tournament. That means the top players in the world play on the women's side of WTA. The number 1 seed is Iga Swiatek. She is number 1 in the world also. And then number 2 seed is Aryna Sabalenka. And 3rd seed is Elena Rybakina. And all 3 of them, the top 3 currently on the world rankings. Results in the first round is number 16 seed Victoria Azarenka. She beat Magda Linette by 6-3 and 6-love. And also Sloane Stevens off to a good start, beating Alina Kalinina of Ukraine by 6-4 and 7-6. And closing off today's international sports news with cricket news, and it is the captain of Australia, Pat Cummins, that's injured. He will be out for 6 weeks. He injured his wrist in the 5th and final test against England in the Ashes, but Australian cricket said that he will be ready to play in the 50-over World Cup. That will be in October and November. That will be in India later this year. He might miss the series against South Africa leading up to the World Cup. It is Australia that play from the 30th of August. They will play 3 T20 internationals against South Africa and also 5 50-over internationals. But Pat Cummins, he's going to be out for 6 weeks, and he's definitely going to be in action in the World Cup in India. That's the international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning throughout the broadcast. Let's get into the highlights. Niger junta appoints new prime minister. Rwanda's Kabuga should be released according to a UN court. Kenya victims of 1998 US embassy bombing demand compensation. South Africa confirms 23 countries want to join BRICS group. And India's rice export ban sparks concern that sugar may be next.